I never thought I'd say this, but there was a time when my entire sense of justice me faith in people even came down to a snowblower. Sound ridiculous, right? If you're expecting a story about some heroic act or a lesson wrapped in a bow, you might want to buckle up because this isn't that. This is the saga of me, my snowblower, and the fine art of neighborhood pettiness at its absolute worst and maybe best. So, picture this. I'm 6 months into living at Pine Ridge Estates, out in the Minneapolis burbs. I'm fresh from Arizona. I still call soda pop by accident, and when I bought this house in July, I wasn't thinking one bit about winter. I got caught up on the big stuff, the new job, the 3-bedroom ranch, my little woodworking workshop. Everything else, I figured I'd learn as I went. And well, I learned. Fast. The first sign I was in over my head showed up in late September. I just dropped almost $2,000 on a snowblower, this absolute beast. 2-stage, heated handles, LED lights, the works. My Arizona brain said, better to have it and not need it than the other way around. My back agreed. Thing is, my garage, already stuffed. Tools, wood scraps, sawdust everywhere. That's where I run my side hustle, building custom furniture. So, no room for a monster snowblower. But then I spot the little storage shed off to the side of my house. Kind of a glorified garden closet. Out of sight, painted the same bland taupe as the house, tucked by the fence. It's perfect. I clean it out, set up a couple shelves, and roll my new toy inside. Problem solved, right? 3 days later, I get a letter, an actual letter, not an email. Official letterhead and everything. The kind of thing that smells like trouble before you even open it. It's from the Homeowners Association. Apparently, storing my snowblower in the shed violates Section 7, Paragraph 12 of the HOA bylaws. No motorized equipment in outdoor storage structures. I've got 5 days to move it or pay $100 a day in fines. I reread that thing 3 times, thinking this has to be a joke. But no, it's real. So I do what any reasonable person does. I call the number on the letter. That's how I meet Brenda, the kind of person who makes you want to apologize for interrupting her day just by existing. Brenda doesn't care about my logic. Garden tools, fine. Motorized equipment, not fine. I try explaining you can't even see the shed from the street. She tells me that's irrelevant. 5 business days, Mr. Richardson. Click. Fine. I dig up the HOA bylaws, 47 pages of the driest nonsense you've ever read. She's technically right. But then I find another paragraph about exception requests. Residents can submit one if there's a reasonable need. I fill one out that night, laying out the facts. My garage is my business, the shed's out of sight, the snowblower's literally required to keep my walk clear so I don't break another bylaw. I figure, hey, maybe they're reasonable people. Nope. 4 days later, my exception is denied. No reason. Just a one-liner. I want to scream, but instead I call again. This time I get handed off Patricia, then Wendy, the HOA president. She's the kind of sweet that tastes like Splendapolite, but freezing cold underneath. She tells me they can't allow exceptions because it undermines community standards. I ask how I'm supposed to clear my driveway. Hire someone. Rent storage. Find alternatives. Translation, not my problem. She drops a good day, Mr. Richardson, and hangs up. At this point, I'm seeing red, but I'm also stubborn, probably to a fault. That night, I rant to Frank, my neighbor across the way. Frank just laughs, says Wendy's been on a power trip for years, finds people for things like mailbox paint and non-standard tulips, and basically runs the board with her best friend and sister-in-law. Pick your battles, he says. Just move the snowblower. But here's the thing. I can't let it go. Something about the principle of it being told I can't store my own property in my own shed for no good reason makes my blood boil. So I do what any red-blooded American does at 2 a.m. when they feel wronged. I Google Minnesota HOA law, selective enforcement, homeowner rights. I learn HOAs can't just make stuff up, but you need proof to fight back. Proof I don't really have yet. With the deadline looming, I squeeze the snowblower into my garage, wedging it between my workbench and the tool rack, and send photo evidence to the HOA portal. Complied within deadline. Wendy herself replies, "Thank you for your compliance. This matter is now closed." If you've ever had someone thank you for giving up, you know how that feels. But, see, now I'm really watching, and what I see makes my blood simmer all over again. Suddenly, I notice other sheds neighbors storing go-karts, generators, even a full-size riding mower. But those folks Friends of Wendy. No violation letters for them. Meanwhile, a couple new to the neighborhood gets fined because their trash can stayed out one extra day when the collection truck skipped them. So I start documenting. Photos, dates, notes. My phone is full of neighbor sheds and snowmobiles. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with it, but I know I'll need it. November hits, and Minnesota winter lives up to the hype. First, a dusting. Then a dump of 8 inches just before Thanksgiving. I'm out there at dawn with my Snowblower, clearing not just my place, but Margaret's next door, Sadie too, alone, and can barely lift a shovel. I'm halfway done when Winnie rolls by in her luxury SUV, window down, that fake smile. Nice to see you keeping up with snow removal. By the way, your Snowblower's quite loud, just a reminder. Power equipment's not allowed before 8 a.m. I check my watch. 7:45. She smirks. Wonderful. We do appreciate cooperation. A few minutes later, Margaret comes out, robe flapping in the wind, whispers, "Don't let her get to you, honey." She's been after me for years. Last month, she told me my house brings down property values because my shutters aren't the right shade of beige. It clicks. This isn't about Snowblowers or sheds. It's about control, about making everyone dance to the tune of one person's vision. So I start talking. A quiet word with Bill and Susan across the street. Then Derek. Then Patricia, the lawyer, who's been sparring with the board over solar panels for half a year. Turns out, I'm not the only one who's had enough. 9 of us end up in my living room, coffee mugs in hand, stories flying. Selective fines, ignored requests, pettiness over things like mailbox flags and flower beds. We decide if we can't win alone, maybe we can together. Patricia, bless her, says document everything. If we prove selective enforcement, we can force change, or at least stop the worst of it. So that's what we do. Every letter, every cleared sidewalk, every violation gets its own file. December comes, and with it, the kind of blizzard you only see in news specials. Snow starts Friday night and doesn't stop. By Sunday morning, I can barely see my car. The city shuts down. Plows don't bother with side streets. The governor declares a state of emergency. No one's going anywhere for days. Come Monday, the storm's over, but the real fun begins. I fire up my Snowblower, dig myself out, clear Margaret's place, help Derek, help Bill and Susan, and soon, I'm clearing half the block. Wendy and her husband, Greg, watch from their buried driveway. Helpless, their snow removal service can't get there for days. Sure enough, Wendy approaches, face pulled tight. "Oliver, could you help us out?" I almost laugh. All those violation notices, all the meetings, all the rules are rules, and now she wants a favor. I don't even need a speech. I just shake my head. "Sorry, Wendy. I'm helping my friends and neighbors. You've made it pretty clear you're neither." Her jaw drops. "But you're helping everyone else." "That's right," I say. "Neighbors help neighbors. They don't harass each other." She splutters, turns red, storms off. Word gets around. The next morning, there's an email from the HOA Wendy, of course asking residents with snow equipment to lend a hand in the spirit of community. It's almost funny. I keep helping the same people I always did, but Wendy and Greg are on their own. Karma's a snowdrift, I guess. And then, things get ugly. I get a notice accusing me of not clearing my sidewalk utter nonsense, since it's been cleared since dawn Monday. I snap pictures, send them in, point out that, actually, Wendy's sidewalk is half buried. I'm not subtle about it. A day later, Tom, one of the board members not in Wendy's pocket, calls. "Look, Oliver, this has gotten out of hand. There's a board meeting next week. Wendy's pushing to sanction you for all kinds of nonsense noise, running a business, trespassing, whatever she can dream up. Just be ready." I gather my files, organize everything. When a meeting comes, the room's packed. When he tries to make it about me, I stand up and lay it all out. Written permission for my business, noise logs, photos, statements from neighbors. Patricia stands up, so does Derek, even a few folks I barely know. They vouch for me. "Oliver's just being a good neighbor," Derek says. "He's been targeted." Wendy's allies squirm. Tom and Jennifer, the other honest board member, call for a committee to review the last 2 years of enforcement. Wendy tries to argue, but can see she's lost the room. The vote is tied. She has to break it herself. She votes yes, voice barely a whisper. For the first time since I moved in, it feels like justice. From there, things change slowly at first. We dig through 2 years of violation records. Turns out, If you're Wendy's friend, you get a slap on the wrist once every year and a half. If you're not, every 6 weeks. Our report makes it impossible to ignore. Wendy resigns a month later. Tom takes over. Patricia joins the board. The shed rule gets rewritten, old fines get refunded, and suddenly, the HOA acts like it actually serves the people living here, not the other way around. You want a twist? Here's one. The next time it snows hard, I see Wendy struggling with a bargain bin snowblower, her husband out of town. Part of me wants to walk away. But the better part, the one that actually likes living in a real community, walks over and helps her clear her driveway. No chat, just a handshake, a nod, and later a surprisingly sincere apology from her. The ice finally melts a little. I learned a lot from all this. I learned that people will abuse any bit of power they're given if you let them. That the only way to fight back is with facts, with allies, and with the willingness to stand your ground, even if you're standing alone at first. But most of all, I learned that rules are only as good as the people enforcing them. Rules should help people live together, not give one person a right to bully everyone else. And real community is built on helping each other, on letting things go, sometimes when it's time, on making room, even in your own cramped garage, for something that matters. So now, my snowblower lives in my shed right where it belongs. The bylaws are fair, the board is sane, and the people? Well, we actually act like neighbors. If Winnie ever needs help again, I'll give it. Not because she deserves it necessarily, but because that's what community is. Let me ask you, Thuff, if you were me, would you have helped her out in the end? Or would you have left her out there with her useless snowblower, digging away while the rest of us watched? Where's the line between standing up for yourself and holding a grudge? Between rules and real justice? Go ahead, tell me your story. Have you ever tangled with a petty power tripper or an unfair rule? Did you fight back, or just grit your teeth and get through it? I want to hear how you handled it where you draw your line. Because, trust me, one day it won't be a snowblower, but you'll find yourself standing in the snow, deciding what kind of neighbor, what kind of person you really want to be.
Cảm ơn tất cả các bạn đã xem video.